How many members or insiders of Congress are on the same page? We're like, yeah, this shit sucks. Because I gotta say, like, there have to be some.
You know, you are absolutely right. That was one of the things that really fueled me to take the leap from a tenured job for life at the Congressional Research Service to a non-tenured position in a think tank. It was everybody on Capitol Hill, with the exception of a few outrageous characters, is miserable. They're not having fun. They came here to do stuff, and they're finding themselves just swallowed up in Byzantine goofiness that's not satisfying. And I kept wondering, like, look, you people, per the Constitution, have all the power to change. Why don't you? And it seemed to be a kind of collective action problem, a learned helplessness, where people just kind of looked around and shrugged, like, yeah, that's the way this place is. And I started trying to say, like, look, it hasn't always been like this. And it doesn't have to be this way. You can reorganize, you can fund yourself as much as you want, just be the change.
Congress is not set up as an institution to succeed. And I'm going to throw a few things out there that when I found out, I was like, whoa, that's messed up. There's been a rule in place for a number of years now. I think it's called a Hastert rule, where you can't bring legislation to the floor unless it's supported by a majority of the majority, which means that if you're in the minority party, you're doing very, very little legislating because you can't actually bring anything. So someone in Congress said to me that if you're in the minority party, you might as well be a piece of furniture. Of course, most members of Congress aren't going to be like, yeah, I just kind of hang out and, don't do anything. But if you're in the minority party, that unfortunately is what it resembles.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. The sort of collegiality between partisans to work with one another, particularly on high salience issue, it's almost non-existent. Take any big issue like immigration. You just are not going to see Democrats and Republicans talking with each other and working together on solutions. They just don't feel incentivized to do that. I mean, the good news is that on like really boring, low salience issues, they've got the space to do it. But funny enough, your question leads us to the primaries issue. Think about it. Immigration. If you're the Democratic Party, do you really want to solve that problem? If you're the Republican Party, do you really want to solve that problem? No, you've got pretty strong incentives to not solve it, but rather to campaign upon it, to fundraise upon it. And therefore, you own the issue, but you don't own the solution. And that's particularly the case when you're running through the primaries, where you have people who are either really hard on the left or really hard on the right, who are more than likely to vote in those primaries. And so, yeah, that's part of the problem. The Hastert rule kind of is a reflection of the incentive structure that's currently in place.
So, what are the major things that you've been pushing for on the outside world, in your book and otherwise? You're like, look, guys, I came from the bowels of Congress. I was a nonpartisan nerd. I know how stuff works there and doesn't work. And here's what we should do.
Yeah, well, certainly I would start with staffing up on the nonpartisan nerds, having those as a resource and as a counterbalance against the kind of private sector moneyed interest pressures that get in Congress's ears. That's the first thing you have to do. The second thing you have to do is to start drawing on some of the insights gained by the Select Committee on the Modernization of Congress about how to run committees in ways that are just less toxic for all involved. One of the things that the Select Committee on the Modernization of Congress figured out that if you put people at a round table and you seat them kind of Dem Republican, instead of splitting it up into two sides, and you have the witnesses interspersed there, you can have real conversations. And sometimes, if you want to be really clever, you don't have to call it a hearing. You can have it be a round table, which means you don't have to have the cameras there. So the incentive to act up in front of the cameras and use that as a vehicle for fundraising or partisan point scoring, those incentives go away. And you can have frank conversations where people are able to say, like, I don't know, you're a Republican and you got something interesting to say to me as a Democrat on this issue. I think we might have grounds to get together on that. When a camera's present, you can't do that. So that would be certainly one way. And budget process. Our nation's finances are a wreck. That law has to be rewritten, soup to nuts, to fix the situation.
Hey YouTube, thanks for watching. Please do hit like and subscribe and hit that bell if you want to be notified every time a new episode drops. Thank you.